برون لا السيمر من تم لا لا خديلي بغسة توخو وخلطة واريانا يابن بجرای منشتم خگه خیت آلکلو خونگش خانم یاقرد اسیریا تیوی ای وقت گو پاریس گو آترد فرانسا و ایل شیتت لاید شتست کرسیت ننوه بیاد سوگویلن ملپانا افرام یلدز و دیو ای وقت گو سند ات فرانسا اتلنا ها ایقارا قد دستگیرتا من آتورای تی وقت او به تحویلن لکچر خینه او همزمیت خینه بیاد رابی او پروفسور قدشوری کنه لخ آمان گده ها یوم شپیره هلبت به تحویلن طلایومنه و کدیوم اخنن به تحویلن بخورزه خای او تپقیت خای اموخون آل یودعت اسیریا تیوی ویمون آمان من هدیه بچاری لکچرز و همزمیت بچاری خگه خیتت نتبت اودن ای وقت گو سند آترد فرانسا گوم دیتت پاریس پوشون آمان آل اسیریا تیوی
We have to start. The people are not arriving. Okay. Please enter and sit. Have the chair, please. Yeah, because we are a bit too late.
Merci. J'attends le feu vert du professeur.
Je crois que on va commencer parce que sinon ça va être trop tard.
C'est bon? Je peux vous dire un petit mot d'accueil? Alors, mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de saluer monsieur le professeur Yezid et Georges Auclin, de remercier Anne-Laure Saint-Dizier et de vous souhaiter bienvenue au Sénat français, si vous me permettez de vous dire Shlama Lao Ron. Je ne sais pas si je l'ai bien dit. Je viens de l'apprendre il y a 5 minutes. Mais c'est toujours un plaisir de vous retrouver, surtout de retrouver ceux qui ne se résignent pas, ceux qui continuent à défendre les Assyro-Chaldéens dans une indifférence générale. Je ne peux que regretter cette passivité et je suis fière d'être aux côtés du président Retailleau, désormais notre nouveau ministre de l'Intérieur au Sénat, pour défendre les chrétiens d'Orient. Vous savez que c'est une cause qui ne l'a jamais quittée et qui l'a toujours portée. Et permettez-moi de citer l'évangile de Saint Luc. Je vous le dis, s'ils se taisent, les pierres crieront. Et je crois qu'au Sénat, vous trouverez des femmes et des hommes qui n'ont pas souhaité se taire face au génocide assyro-chaldéen et plus largement face au totalitarisme islamique. C'est pour moi l'occasion de remercier du fond du cœur le président du Sénat, Gérard Larcher, qui nous a toujours soutenus à ce sujet. Avec Bruno Retailleau, je crois qu'il forme un tandem extraordinaire pour défendre cette juste cause. Certains en France pensent que la question de la reconnaissance du génocide des Assyro-Chaldéens est une question simplement mémorielle. Pourtant, dans ce débat qui traverse la France sur son identité et sur la place des populations issues de l'immigration, on constate un grand absent. On constate l'absence des chrétiens d'Orient. Parmi eux, sans distingue, les Assyro-Chaldéens. Leur tragédie génocidaire et ethnocidaire fut durant quelques décennies un épisode oublié des drames du XXe siècle, au point que certains aujourd'hui se demandent s'il y a d'autres référents que moi-même, M. Retailleau ou M. Larcher, qui ont écrit sur cette histoire. Nous ne le disons pas suffisamment, mais oui, l'avenir de l'Occident et l'avenir de l'Orient sont intimement liés. Et comme l'a justement dit François Fillon, à qui je veux rendre un hommage appuyé et, si je puis dire, affectueux, je voudrais aussi rendre hommage à son combat, puisqu'il disait « Le sort des chrétiens d'Orient et des autres minorités est le prélude à notre propre sort ». Effectivement, c'est ce qu'il a essayé d'expliquer aux Français et même aux Européens, qui ne l'ont pas entendu malheureusement. Aujourd'hui encore, les chrétiens d'Orient sont en danger de mort, et nous sommes les témoins de ce massacre annoncé et même glorifié. Demain, qui parlera l'araméen? Qui parlera la langue du Christ? 109 ans après le génocide de 1915, l'histoire bégaye. À la vérité, les chrétiens d'Orient vivent en humiliés depuis des décennies. Ils ne sont pas les seuls, malheureusement, car bien d'autres minorités, yézidis, mandéens, chabaks, turcomanes, et j'en oublie sûrement, sont également tenus de vivre la tête baissée. Voilà pourquoi nous devons continuer de témoigner. Voilà pourquoi nous devons, à notre mesure, agir. Et nous, notre mesure, c'est la loi. Parmi de multiples causes qui sont dignes d'être défendues, celle des chrétiens d'Orient m'a toujours touchée. Peut-être parce que moi-même, je suis une petite fille dont les parents sont nés de l'autre côté de la Méditerranée. Et ça rend sensible à ces causes. Sans doute aussi parce que cette cause est depuis longtemps sans défenseur, sans que personne ne la connaisse. On ne dira jamais assez combien les États européens et leurs élites furent silencieux et lâches devant la disparition progressive d'une des plus vieilles et des plus brillantes communautés du Moyen-Orient. C'est pourquoi, dès le 11 mars 2015, j'avais déposé à l'Assemblée nationale, puisque j'étais députée à ce moment-là, un texte visant à reconnaître le génocide des Assyro-Chaldéens. Texte que j'ai redéposé quand je suis devenue sénateur le 22 février 2022 et plus récemment, le 19 juillet 2023, mon collègue Rachid Temal du Parti socialiste s'est joint à ma démarche. Mais le Sénat avait déjà fait une avancée majeure. En effet, le 8 février 2023, avec les soutiens de Gérard Larcher et de Bruno Retailleau, nous avons adopté à la quasi-unanimité une résolution s'appuyant sur des faits avérés et reconnus par les historiens, invitant le gouvernement à reconnaître le génocide assyro-chaldéen 1915-1918. Et cher Georges, je crois qu'on se souvient tous les deux de la soirée où M. Retailleau s'était engagé à faire en sorte que cette reconnaissance arrive. Il a tenu ses engagements avec le soutien de Gérard Larcher, voilà, et en se servant effectivement de la proposition de loi que je viens d'évoquer. Mais j'ai oublié de remercier quelqu'un. Enfin non, je n'ai pas oublié. Je voudrais remercier une personne qui a beaucoup compté dans les démarches que j'ai pu entreprendre. Il s'agit de Joseph Yacoub. Je voudrais lui dire un grand merci pour son aide précieuse. Je crois que c'est le seul qui a écrit en langue française sur ce génocide. Et j'ai lu bien évidemment tous ses ouvrages, mais c'est surtout une très belle rencontre avec quelqu'un de passionné et de passionnant, d'extrêmement cultivé, et qui porte cette cause au fond de son cœur. Je veux le redire aujourd'hui, nous avons un rôle de protection. Je parle au présent, j'espère que je ne parle pas au passé, parce que je crois que la France a toujours ce rôle. En tout cas, moi, ça fait partie du rôle que je pense que la France ne doit pas abandonner. Donc nous avons un rôle de protection envers les chrétiens d'Orient, qui est l'héritage d'une longue histoire remontant aux capitulations signées par François Ier avec le sultan Soliman le Magnifique en 1535. La mémoire et l'histoire contribuent à l'identité des peuples. L'oubli et la négation apportent atteinte au respect de la dignité humaine. Ne laissons pas la France faillir à son devoir historique et moral de protection des minorités chrétiennes d'Orient pour ne pas faire rougir l'histoire. Il y a un siècle, le génocide des Assyro-Chaldéens syriaques a été ignoré. Il continue à l'être, tout comme aujourd'hui celui des chrétiens d'Orient. Contrairement au génocide arménien, reconnu par de nombreux pays, organisations internationales et considéré comme l'un des 4 génocides officiellement acceptés par l'ONU, le massacre des Assyriens, des Syriaques, souffre d'un manque de reconnaissance en tant que génocide. Et je dois vous avouer que c'est après avoir fait voter et défendu le texte sur la reconnaissance du génocide de 1915 que je me suis dit mais c'est pas possible, on ne peut pas parler que de celui-ci, l'autre aussi qui était perpétré par les mêmes au même moment, dans les mêmes conditions, doit être également reconnu. Il doit être reconnu pour notre mémoire. Ce manque de reconnaissance est sans doute dû au fait que la nation assyrienne est souvent méconnue, parce que nous sommes à la fois protecteurs historiques des chrétiens d'Orient, mais aussi le pays qui se dit celui des droits de l'homme. Ces génocides du XXe siècle comme du XXIe siècle ne doivent pas faire face à la passivité de la communauté internationale. La lutte contre la barbarie doit mobiliser l'ensemble des pays du monde, et nous devons reconnaître le génocide de ces chrétiens. Les actes commis par les forces ottomanes il y a plus d'un siècle, comme ils sont commis aujourd'hui par les islamistes, doivent être considérés comme un crime de génocide et comme des crimes contre l'humanité. Hélas, aujourd'hui, nous ne pouvons que déplorer la passivité de l'ONU pour la protection de ces minorités et même son silence, parfois complice. Ces minorités victimes de torture et de purification ethnique. Je voudrais aussi évoquer l'exil des milliers de chrétiens, des Kurdes, des Yézidis, la disparition totale des Juifs d'ailleurs sur cette partie du monde. En réalité, la paix au Moyen-Orient ne peut se construire que dans le respect des différences, sur la tolérance, la liberté religieuse et la liberté de conscience. La présence fragile des communautés chrétiennes, dont l'origine remonte à la nuit des temps, est aussi une des clés de celle de la paix, comme celle de toutes les autres minorités qui doivent pouvoir accéder aux mêmes droits civiques, à la même sécurité pour leur famille que les membres de la communauté majoritaire. 2024, 2014, 1915. Oui, il s'agit de véritables génocides, comme je l'avais dénoncé à l'occasion des questions au gouvernement le 23 juillet 2014 à l'Assemblée nationale. Ce génocide est aussi celui de la matrice de notre civilisation et il nous oblige à agir au nom de l'histoire et des engagements de la France. Comme l'explique Joseph Yacoub, ce génocide physique, cette spoliation des terres et des biens était accompagné d'atteintes graves à l'héritage culturel. Comme aujourd'hui, malheureusement, le sort des Arméniens d'Artsakh, dont les Azerbaïdjanais effacent toutes les traces. Les Assyro-Chaldéens se sont vus dépossédés d'une grande partie de leur lieu de culte, de leur lieu de vie, de culture et de mémoire. En tout, plus de 400 églises et monastères ont été ruinés. Plus de 250 000 Assyro-Chaldéens syriaques, ce qui représente plus de la moitié de la communauté, ont péri des mains des Turcs et des irréguliers kurdes utilisés à ces fins. Nous sentons bien que derrière ce combat pour les chrétiens d'Orient se profile le combat du respect de tous les autres. Respect des minorités religieuses, respect des intellectuels qui n'oublient pas Averroès, respect des femmes qui rêvent d'égalité, de liberté et de fraternité aussi. Respect des musulmans qui veulent s'affranchir des conflits religieux et qui veulent peut-être choisir de croire ou de ne pas croire, de changer de religion, sans risquer la mort. Respect aussi des hommes de foi qui croient à la richesse du dialogue œcuménique. Rappelons-nous cette phrase d'Elie Wiesel qui disait « En niant l'existence d'un génocide, en l'oubliant, on assassine les victimes une seconde fois ». Avec la reconnaissance du génocide des Assyro-Chaldéens et Syriaques de 1915, le Parlement français dans son ensemble s'honorera de s'inscrire, comme d'autres parlements nationaux, dans cette démarche profondément démocratique et permettra de ne pas oublier les chrétiens d'Orient qui meurent chaque jour. Je vous remercie. Pardon.
senadora Valérie Boyer, las primeras palabras las voy a hacer en español por el agrado que sé que usted habla español. Por tanto, mi más sincera gratitud por esta ocasión de permitirnos a dirigirnos en un lugar tan especial sobre temas que tienen que ver con el pueblo asirio y luego de pertenencia a Caldea y otras iglesias aquí representadas. Por tanto, muchísimas gracias por estas palabras de apoyo incondicional, del trabajo que ha hecho y sobre todo esta convicción de que es la mejor manera para ir construyendo la historia pensando en el ser humano. I'm going to summarize what our senator has been telling you in French. Probably most of you haven't understood her as she deserves. So she and other people like François Picconi, who is also here, through George O'Clan, who has been the connection. Without him, it would be probably very difficult, I would say impossible, to be today here and to talk about a topic that touches each of us. So, George, thank you very much for that as well. She, thanks to her, finally the Assyrian genocide has an official recognition in France. And we are and she has also shown her respect and affection to the Caldo-Assyrian community and here in France generally, especially here in Paris. And they are working for the Assyrian common cause. So we are thankful to you for all the efforts you are doing with him and for the Assyrian community in France. It will have also effects for other countries that will allow us to show to the people that Assyrian nation is an alive nation, which has been forgotten, as you have underlined, from the history. We made the history, and now we are somehow forgotten on behalf of the history. So this is the way where we can work together, and where through your help, your support, they are the sponsorship. They are not only helping us, even this Congress is sponsored by these groups who are supporting the Assyrian cause. So it's not just a question of sympathy, but they are doing real work for the Assyrian cause. So our official and effective thanks for all the work you are doing. I know that you are very busy, and the simple case that she is here, a senator who is defending the Assyrian cause in a practical and effective way, shows that she is here in order to tell you that she is with us. And we trust and we are confident that she will continue working also for the Assyrian cause at the national level, because it's not just a question of a municipality, it's the government of France. I would like also to express gratitude for the Ministry of Interior, Bruno Retailleau. She mentioned they have been, let's say, the engine, who have pushed for the approval of recognition of Assyrian genocide. But genocide is just a path. There are many other issues. We are asking you as well to help us to build, because genocide is, yes, very important, but also education for us is utmost important. We have to have the chance also to teach our mother tongue, the modern Assyrian language, to our kids. So yeah, we are going to ask you to continue supporting our initiatives in order to give the chance to these people, as you have mentioned. They have suffered, they have been slaughtered, their blood was shed, and no one was just denouncing it. And you are here and you say, we are not only denouncing it, we are defending your cause. So this gives hope also to the Assyrian community, not only in France, but around the world. So We will have the chance to talk on the 17th in relation to Professor Joseph Yacoub, who has done a huge work, and many others. You know, each of them, according to their capacity and possibility, they have contributed that today in France, the Assyrian genocide within the Armenian and the Pontic Greek one are gradually being recognized. So we are thankful to you, and we are very happy to have this chance to be here, and also to show you that we are also working. We are not only just crying and asking for help, but we are also contributing for this ideal. You know, European Union is working in a way that really is working, crossing the borders without showing the passport and the checkpoints is the first. But I have been working the last 15 years at the European level for the higher education system. You know that we are now talking about the alliances. This will make this continent stronger than ever, because from bottom up we can build. Education is our priority, and this is also the priority of Nineveh Academic Chair, which has been founded at the University of Salamanca, where you have learned Spanish, if I'm not wrong.
Il y a longtemps.
Mais quand même, vous défendez très bien. Et donc, merci beaucoup. Avec Rabara Basinta, Todi Segui, and the captain.
Je me permettrai de transmettre à Bruno Retailleau, que nous voyons demain au ministère de l'Intérieur, votre gratitude, votre amitié, et lui dire que vous continuez toujours à travailler et sachez que nous serons toujours à vos côtés.
Et je vous prie de bien vouloir utiliser Georges pour ces genres de travail et des obligations, parce que sans lui, peut-être on n'aurait pas eu l'occasion, le plaisir et l'honneur d'être ici pour partager avec vous pour ce que nous sommes en train de lutter d'une manière intelligente, effective et surtout basée sur l'éducation. Donc, merci beaucoup.
Merci Georges. Merci. Je rêve de retourner à Salamanque.
L'invitation est déjà pour ça. Attendez. On a une petite chose comme signe de reconnaissance. Where is my... Ça, je vais faire regarder Alors,
c'est de Salamanque.
as she has been in Salamanca, and you know, Salamanca is the oldest university of Spain and the third ancient university of Europe.
Ah bon?
Yes. Bologna, Paris, Salamanca, and Oxford. These are the oldest universities of Europe.
Ah oui,
and of the,
d'accord.
yeah.
Oui, ok. Ah oui, Bologne, Salamanque, Paris.
Non, Paris, Salamanque et après c'est l'Oxford, donc la troisième. Et alors, while they were, discovering things, they discovered the sky of Salamanca. You know that in the 16th century, astrology was taught in a really scientific way. And when they discovered the sky of Salamanca, it has become a kind of symbol for the 8th century, which we celebrated in 2018. So, with small things, we show our gratitude. Just a nice, this is the sky of Salamanca.
C'est joli.
So this is a typical official, let's say, small gift on behalf of the university, but especially of behalf of all these people who appreciate you very much, and thank you for the whole work you are doing. Thank you again.
Oh, c'est trop beau. Merci beaucoup.
Ça, c'est le ciel de Salamandre. Alors la prochaine fois quand vous allez venir, alors on va vous faire une visite bien organisée.
C'est gentil, merci
Ouais,
beaucoup.
Merci à vous.
C'est adorable, merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
C'est le ciel de ma jeunesse.
Oui. Merci beaucoup. As soon as our senator is leaving, then Kadiayan. Okay. See you in Ashur. Instead of Salamanca, in Ashur. This is Pirayu's phrase. Where is Pirayu? Yeah. See you in Ashur. Okay, let's now go to the next, let's say, hard issue. I warmly ask the speakers to short the speech because it has taken more time than provided. So I should have studied political sciences, as you see, instead of wasting my time with the language. Anyway, I have the pleasure and the honor to present you one of our emblematic professors, Professor Enver Chetras, who is professor at the University of Salam. And he touches several fields which have to do with psychology, social sciences, human rights, and you know the focus when I for the first time met him, and it was a long time ago. You remember when we did the Assyrian heritage work together? Sarbon is also here. I came to know a talent that is not used as he deserves to be used among the Assyrian community, and this was a golden chance to invite him to talk about a topic that is quite needed. And the topic he will talk today about is existential conflicts about Assyrian refugees, resilience and coping in the midst of crisis. Imagine such a complicated and complex work and topic. The role is yours. As we don't have much time, I would invite you to.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Madam Senate Valerie has left, but I thank her very much. My French is not good, my Spanish is a little better, so muchas gracias, Professor Efrem. And my Syrio is okay, but I wouldn't be able to speak academically in Syrio. شكرا غالبا وبعمله قدرنا وجهنا عميقو علوم دانو بسيريو بس يعرفوني كل ببصلة لمولا فليلي ولا شو نسيريو ولا فليلي وبسايكولوجي ما خلت ليونستي نقصانية تامو. So bear with me in English, and it is a little difficult. I don't know if you will get all the words and terms I'm using. If you don't, we'll sit together this evening at the dinner, and I'll be happy to explain a few things more. I was thinking of singing for you because you didn't give me the chance in the bus, but I think I have another topic which is unfortunately more serious. That I will talk about. You know, life stories include accounts of difficulties, dangers, struggles, and these stories are also about overcoming dangers, about heroism and about transformation. Sometimes people do it on their own, and sometimes with the guidance of some other people, and yet other times simply just through magic. And these stories capture a fundamental truth about our human nature, that resilience grows out of crisis. We don't develop unless we experience crisis, and out of everyday experiences. I will quote something which gives me inspiration. is from the Epic of Gilgamesh, Table 7. Enkidu, my friend, companion of my youth, together we faced battle, we scaled mountains, now he lies lifeless. Shall I too one day lie in the dust? Enkidu asks. And this excerpt from the Epic of Gilgamesh about crisis and about trauma on the fear of death is one of the deepest existential conflicts in human nature, an awareness of the fact that one day we will all die. The stories of refugees are not simple. They are filled with hardship and loss, but also about strength and resilience. And today we will explore the experiences of a Syrian refugee through interviews I conducted in Istanbul, Turkey, and in Sweden. And we'll meet people like Mariam, an Iraqi woman, a Syrian Iraqi woman, who fled ISIS. We will meet Sarah, who lost her husband amidst the chaos of war. And we will meet Seide, who longed for freedom and self-fulfillment. Through these stories, we will delve into the challenges they faced, from the trauma of leaving the loved ones behind to the uncertainty of a new future. Yet, we will also discover a profound capacity for hope and growth. And we will see how refugees draw on their past experiences, their faith, and even their children to build a new life. And by the end, through psychological and a few philosophical concepts, I hope you will get a better understanding of the complex questions refugees grapple with. Questions about freedom, loneliness, and the meaning of suffering itself. So the consequences of trauma. The uprooting caused by the war exposes refugees to a range of emotional challenges. It is loss, it's trauma, and uncertainty about their events. Mariam, an Assyrian Iraqi woman, encapsulated this when she told me in a quote, "I don't feel safe anymore," she says. "I belong to the Assyrian minority. We feel threatened by ISIS, which wants to kill us. It is halal, clear, to kill us. I am tired of this miserable situation we live in," she says. And this emotional reaction would fit the definition of trauma by the American Psychological Association, which is described as an emotional response to a traumatic event that exceeds an individual's normal capacity to cope with adversity. But, more than that, Maria's words actually reveal something else. Not only about her personal suffering, but also about the collective trauma endured by the Assyrian people, not reflected at all in our definition from the American Psychological Association. So we will come back to this in a short moment. When we, as human beings, face an event, a stressor, more challenging than usual, it results in distress. And we try to cope with that stress by using different kinds of strategies to handle it. And the coping process that is produced is an outcome that is either favorable, unfavorable, so either positive or negative reaction, or we are not able to resolve it at all. And here are two different coping strategies. A young Assyrian woman who expressed how she would deal with her past stress, and based on her own coping style, she was confident that she could handle the future challenges. And I quote her. She said, "I've been through a lot of terrible things and I've been able to deal with them. So now I have the courage to do anything. There is still something in me, joking, laughter, and humor," she ends. But Sarah, another middle-aged Syrian woman, found herself in a completely and obviously new situation, as we will hear from her own words. I quote her when I interviewed her in Istanbul. She said, "My husband had smuggled his way to Sweden. We knew he would face many challenges along the way. And he arrived safely and was in the process of applying for family reunification when we received the terrible news. The phone rang. It was our relatives from Sweden. They told me that my husband had suddenly died of a heart attack. I fell to the floor," she continued. "How could that happen, just like that? I couldn't believe it. I was in Istanbul with 2 children and I couldn't go to Sweden nor back to Syria. But that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was that I couldn't be with my husband at that moment. I felt an emptiness when I couldn't bury him. all my dignity as a human being was taken away from me. My hair turned completely grey overnight. And I can confirm, when I met her, she had completely grey, silver-white hair. Her words convey not only the immense grief of losing a loved one, but also the added burden of being denied a religious or a cultural significant ritual, the loss of agency that further compounds her suffering. Her primary coping reaction was unresolved. And these stories illustrate the complex interplay between individual experiences and a broader societal factor and limitations. While Mariam's trauma is deeply personal, it echoes the collective suffering of the Assyrian people. And similarly, Sarah's loss is compounded by the constraints of her refugee status. I will come back to that, why it reflects the Assyrian case. But let's first expand on a few concepts. Psychologists like Anne Maston have in short defined resilience as, I quote, positive adaptation in situations of risk or adversity. However, resilience research has been also criticized for emphasizing mainly individual attributes and neglecting the broader societal factors. So feminist researchers in particular highlight how this neglects power imbalance and the injustice, not least, that women face. And in our case, also historical minorities face. So not conforming to the ideal of a strong or a good wife or the parent can leave vulnerable individuals with a feeling of guilt, failure, and sense of insufficiency. This reality is powerfully illustrated by another story, by Seyde, a young Assyrian mother from Syria, in Istanbul when I met her, and Seyde described her suffocating limitations placed upon her after marriage. I quote her. She says, "I remember my playful childhood with my brothers and sisters in Syria. Then I went to university, looked forward to marriage, and imagined a life where I would continue to develop as a woman. But things changed. My husband and in-laws had other plans. They restricted my freedom. I entered the marriage cage, which wasn't golden at all, but more like a prison. I had to stay at home and only take care of the household and my in-laws. I felt like I was living in a cage with the door open, but unable to fly out. I was emotionally broken." So poetically and beautifully put in words by end of quote. But this difficulty, in the midst of this despair, Seyde found a glimmer of hope. I quote her again. "Then came the war," she said, "and my situation became worse. I wanted to flee with my husband and children. But he didn't want to leave his parents behind. So I felt abandoned again, but also somehow liberated. In the midst of all this, I imagined a new life where I could realize myself and my children's future. Even now I would say I am a bird in a cage with the door open, unable to fly out. There is something blocking me. There is fear. Maybe this desire of being that strong woman, to carry all the responsibilities and burdens on my shoulders and not to fall down. Is it possible that one day I can fly out and find my freedom and be in a safe space?" she asks. So, Seyde made it to Europe, finally, smuggled by boat with her 2 children through the dangerous Aegean Sea route. And in this and similar stories, we see how resilient these individuals have been, both historically, culturally, and bodily, in her case, where women's migration is linked to family structures and cultural norms. Seyde's story exemplifies how resilience is shaped by social structures and by gender roles. And it's not just about individual strength, but about navigating complex forces linked to social and cultural boundaries. The second and final theoretical concept I will introduce is the existential, and how individuals are pendling between suffering and hope. Existential psychology of religion, which is my field, is concerned with people's ultimate concerns, just like the case with Gilgamesh. When sensing a conflict between life and death, freedom or groundedness, isolation or belonging, meaning or meaninglessness. These are the existential concepts that are used by psychologists like the Edward Yalom. However, the existential literature, again, just like with resilience in psychology, is primarily concerned with individual expressions of illness, with limited connection to community, to institutional, political, or historical levels. So, how should we understand by this concept the voices of Assyrian refugees of war who cry out that they have no goals or no hope for the future, or who worry about their children now and their parents they have left behind, or who are targeted as a community? So these feelings are not isolated individual matters free from historical, social factors and structures. I learned that by reading another philosopher, the Mexican philosopher Uranga, who 2021 introduced and translated from Spanish. In his philosophical and indigenous perspective, he presents three concepts that I would like to introduce to you. One is insufficiency, in-betweenness, and suffering. He writes, ontologically, insufficiency refers to a lack of being in human existence. So the individual always exists in a state of dependence, unfulfillment, and incompleteness, he writes. Second, minorities or migrants find themselves in this state of in-betweenness, on the way from one place to another, in the midst of crisis or change, living in a state of pendulum, he writes. And the migrant experiences are an endless journey, always in transit, away from one's origins and away from one's roots, to which one cannot return, to a destination and a life that may never even fully welcome you. And thirdly, his third concept of suffering. This way of being, he says, being in between, is a result, and it results in anxiety, it results in angst, fear, and unease. And ultimately, it results in pain and suffering. Back why I say this Assyrian. But by paying attention to the existential conflicts among Assyrian refugees and analyzing these experiences from both psychological and philosophical perspectives with these concepts, we can broaden our academic understanding, we can address the criticism of these concepts, but we can also do justice to those individuals I have been able to interview. So let me go back to two areas. The freedom and responsibility of, which is the core of the existential question. The search for freedom is a basic existential need we all try to achieve. Seyde, if you remember, the university-educated Assyrian woman who felt that her freedom was restricted by her in-laws, paradoxically saw that the war was a way for herself to free herself, giving those autonomy. However, freedom comes with another part of the coin, which is the existential guilt. It's the other side. And this was also expressed by Seyde when she said, I felt like I was living in a cage with the door open but unable to fly out. This reflects exactly the other side of the coin, that she's looking for freedom, but she's feeling guilty because she left some behind. Furthermore, the feeling of guilt is linked to having abandoned someone, guilt for leaving one's parents behind, for not taking the responsibility expected from you. It is also about not being able to attend a funeral, as in Sarah's case. So, if we stop here, seeing the refugees and their existential dilemmas as a conflict between self-fulfillment as a woman and guilt, we will end up with the conclusion that these people are weak, they are powerless, they lack agency, and ultimately their own migration is simply a failure. On the contrary, ontologically, and I will go back to the philosopher Uranga, who pointed out that We as human beings, we always exist in a state of relatedness, dependence, unfulfillment, and insufficiency. That's part of our nature. It's simply that the Assyrians know and experience about this every day. And in this framework, the Assyrians are not less than other people. They are not inferior to others because of this guilt they experience. The second and final concept I would like to introduce or present is the isolation and the belonging, which is the other existential concern that we human beings feel, that we are alone in the world, while at the same time we long for protection, we long for contact, we long for being part of something larger. For the migrant, this existential isolation is to lose one's ground, feeling abandoned by God, or losing one's faith. Sito, a young Assyrian woman, experienced this when I met her in Istanbul. She had been on the road for several years trying to find a way to Europe, and I quote her, a young woman. She said, "I used to find peace in my faith," and her voice was filled with despair. She continued, "This church was my sanctuary, but when the war came, everything changed. I was forced to leave behind my parents. They were too old to escape with me. I sought refuge in a monastery in another country, but instead I found disillusionment. The news of my parents' death while I was away made my feelings of guilt even worse. I questioned my faith," she said, "wondering, where is God in this darkness? When you pray to God and you need Him, He's not with you. So your faith gets weaker." And she ended, "Let Him leave me alone." So Sito's story encapsulates this profound existential challenge faced by refugees, her doubts about God and her sense of isolation reflects the broader struggle of individuals and Assyrians in crisis. Her story actually mirrors a universal struggle, an entire people's sense of loneliness in this world. It is a God who is not present in the suffering of His people. It is a community that cannot find peace, not even here in Europe, not even in the diaspora. But again, we need to go back to the philosophical terms because psychology has a tendency to pathologize. If we go to that term, in-betweenness, described by that me being in the middle of a crisis, in a transformation or in a shift of a worldview, Oranga pointed out that indigenous people, as collective, experience this sense of being in transition, in an exhaustive process of becoming. They are always becoming something. So for minorities like the Assyrians, being alone in this world is a collective experience, even a matter of heritage and a fear of cultural extinction. They experience oppression and flight because of their ethno-religious affiliation, which becomes a symbolic pain they bear collectively, as you remember expressed by Mariam, the Assyrian Iraqi woman I quoted in the beginning, threatened by ISIS. She said, and I'll quote her again, "It is different for us Christians. We never feel safe. We are always worried, always the target." End of quote. This threat of violence and extinction, as expressed by Mariam, underscores the existential fear experienced by populations in between. This collective suffering can lead to a sense of despair and meaninglessness, but when you communicate that and when you share it with others, it becomes visible, it becomes recognized, and it creates a sense of sharing, a community, or a sense that we are in this world together. So the Assyrian community's journey is a testament to this. Despite facing persecution and the threat of extinction, they have preserved. And as the stories of these Assyrian women have taught us, resilience is, despite the moment of crisis, a positive adaptation through coping. After all, what is coping if not building up one's own hope? And again, we will get inspired by the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I quote table 12, which probably he knew by that time already. Let us go up on the wall of Uruk, look upon its foundations, inspect its brickwork, build it not to endure forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chetes, for this insightful conference. And especially it's also a topic that is needed to be dealt among us. Sargon, it's your turn to moderate. So please, yes. I wanted just to thank you for coming and sharing your valuable nuances in this field, and we hope to make use of it for the future. So thank you again.
Okay, well, continuing on with our program today, our next speaker is Dr. Sargon Hasso. Dr. Sargon Hasso received his PhD from Illinois Institute of Technology. Dr. Hasso is probably the foremost expert on digitization and Assyrian texts. He was the forerunner for all the work that eventually became the first usage of Assyrian fonts in the Unicode script. And his work has been vital to most of us who utilize anything in Assyrian in computing today. So anytime you are utilizing something where you're typing Assyrian within the text, within the computer, in some portion, that's indebted to Sargon. So just wanted to pass that along to everybody. I know I've been indebted to his work, so I'm very thankful and happy to be here and excited to hear this wonderful presentation on the digitization and preservation of modern Assyrian texts, addressing the challenges of low-resource languages through advanced technological solutions. And I'll turn it over to Sargon.
Thank you. Okay, so the reason why I'm here because at this spot because I don't have a long cable to connect, so I'll stand here and I'll present my my talk. And let me just start my watch so I know. Sargon Donabet said the title in English. So what I'm going to do, this is my attempt to translate it to Assyrian. And my talk is going to be mixed. It means mixed with Assyrian English. So bear with me. And I'll also do some demos so you can also see how some of the works that I'm working on, so you can actually see it. So it's not only talk. So the title is مرق مانوتا مطارد إسخاخ أشوراي داراي شريت قطرة يعني كترة اللي شانت خسر مبوعة بيطخن تخشوه متقدمانا. That's exactly what it means in English. Mrahmanut is a new word actually. It hasn't been settled on it, but it's a word for digitization. Skhacha means text. And Ashuraya Daraya means we're only interested in the modern Assyrian, the spoken language that we speak today. So has nothing to do with Syriac. That's work that has been done by other scholars in the field, and we thank them for that as well, of course. قطرت لشان خسر مبوع. خسر مبوع means like low resource language, and I'll tell you why it's called low resource language and خسر مبوع. بيطخنة خاشوة من قدمانة. طخنة means technical. A word again I'm always indebted to Tuma Odu. He come up with these words. Nice actually. طخنة has been used in Syriac. Means technical. And it's word, by the way, it's a Greek word. It's not even, we borrowed it from Greek. So it's tech. Anyway, so I'll be talking about why this topic is important. We have large segments of text that has been either hidden, lost, and I'll tell you stories actually about how some of this is gone. And it's probably, and maybe it's in books, it's sitting on your, I'm pretty sure it's on your, in your library, in your shelf at home, or maybe it's sitting in some large place that collects a lot of material, but no one has access to, like Ashurbanipal Library. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of libraries in Shutaputa, Shutaputa, George, and no one has access to it. And so the only way you can see it is you have to go there and see it. So our effort is actually to make that thing. That's why we want to we want to make it available to everyone, to not only to view this text and analyze it and do all kinds of things, actually, wonderful things, and I'll talk about it. And why this is important, and to build what we call a text corpus creation. A text corpus means all the published, all the available published literature in modern Assyrian. And we call it in the IT and the information technology terminology, text corpus means body, basically. Text, like skhacha. So gushmet the skhacha, and we use this because I'll show you actually later. Why do we need text like that? Why would we need it? And I can just tell you, kind of give you a hint. If anyone is familiar with ChatGPT or Google Translate or any translate system that you have on your phone, it would not be possible if they didn't have a large body of text. So that's why it's important. We don't have that. We're not there, but I am trying to get us there. So that's so you know how important this work is. And I'll go through some of the technology that we use to make that possible, and I'll show some of the example how we use this corpus data or corpus text. And we call Makaru project. Makaru is all my projects that I work on. I give them code names, and these code names for me I use always Akkadian words. So Makaru is an Akkadian word actually. And I'll tell you why. I have a definition for it too later, and you'll like it too, I hope. And then I'll conclude it by what I call a call to action. What is it that how can we work all together to make this one possible? Obviously, I hope you can see the immense work that's involved in this. It's not work of one person, two person, or it's a community. The whole community needs to get involved. So the first thing I want to just quickly go over what we call challenges in accessing modern Assyrian text. Of course, there are several reasons for it. One is migration and displacement. Everyone knows about it. Forced migration, economic opportunities abroad and that makes our people leave their places. So this is a challenge. One is what we call aging speaker population. Second generation French, Assyrian French, they speak, and I heard they speak with an accent, or maybe what we call broken Assyrian. I can guarantee you the next generation, if they don't speak Assyrian, is gone. It's just a fact. this is not only to Assyrian, that's any other language, and linguists know that. Dr. Aframiel agrees with me. It is what it is. So this is a fact. So if we don't do something, it's going to happen. So it's just a natural process. And of course, the other reason is what we call declining birth rates. Our people are not like other people, other communities where they have a lot of children. So we tend to have a small family, and then of course that affects our population. And a loss of young speakers. I gave an example. We don't have to go through it. The other one is what we call a lack of intergenerational transmissions. If you're born of Assyrian parents, you might be lucky that your parents speak to you in Assyrian, but others are not. Maybe they're busy. They didn't spend enough time. So eventually, the young generation, especially in Galuta, they tend to not pay attention to the language. It goes in a way of other things that they forget about the culture, not only language. And of course, the lack of language education. There's some efforts, of course, in back home, Ashur, they have schools, but even that is dwindling. To my knowledge, I think, again, either because the people are leaving, there's not enough, and so on. So we need to collect this, what has been written, what has been published, what's been, well, not necessarily published, what's been available, like I said, in the back of the shelves, or maybe in some boxes and so on. Otherwise, our language is just going to go and without much needed attention. So here are a couple of examples. On the left, this is a dictionary that was, it's almost 450, it's a copy, a 450 pages long Assyrian English dictionary. That was published, I don't know, they don't actually know the date, but it was published by a missionary somewhere in the beginning, I think, the 20th century, like 1900s. And it's a beautiful, actually, handwriting, and English is not very clear, but it's fainted, but nonetheless, it's readable. So I'm wondering how many of these things are lost. And in fact, this copy, I don't know how I got it, actually, to be honest with you. I found it somewhere on the internet. Someone published it. And what it says, they have a note that says it was given to us by, they don't even know the name of the author. It was found in a box, and these people thought it was important. They gave it to some library in New York somewhere, and they don't know who the author is, but they found it important. Whatever, they scanned it, I guess they published it. So this is one example. The other one on the right-hand side, and Nicholas Algilu actually wrote about this. Let's see, Proverbs Siwa collection. Anyway, خبر سوبا أوبا وطعموا it was boxes. The interesting this about this collection is, I think he wrote a history of Urmi like in, I don't know, 5 volumes, which is very nice. But it's all handwritten. He also wrote a daily events in Iran and during the transition from Shah to Khomeini regime. And he actually, during that time, he chronicled these events. It's beautiful. The handwriting is also readable, highly readable, but again, it's not published. And I always joke with Nicholas, and he says actually he published it in the Journal of Assyrian Academic Studies a few years back. And I always joke with him. I said, okay, so it was in a box somewhere. It's good that he was able to get it, but now it's in the same box in his home. So again, it's still something that's not accessible. And this other example is Awapar Sopa Yosef Betkulia. Maybe many of you know him. This manuscript from 1925 is a translation of fables by Russian, they call them fabulous, writes fables. Ivan Krylov, Andreevich Krylov. Krylov to the Russian literature is almost like Goethe to the German and Shakespeare to, I think, to literature. He lived actually in the 18th century. Nonetheless, Yosef Kulia translated some of these his works from Russian to Assyrian, and this a copy of a manuscript from 1925. And these are actually nice because these are fables about for children, but they have morale between. So a child can read it, but it has meaning. There's like this one is Qarqa Tala. You probably heard this story. On the right-hand side is a copy. Oh, so my point is, it's a manuscript. Luckily, we have a copy of it. It's almost like, I don't know, maybe 400 pages long. Again, it exists in a manuscript form, and it was on a shelf of Ashurbanipal Library. I tried to get the original version, but we don't have it. I contacted his family. I wasn't able to find it. So this one, unless we do something about it, it's going to be gone. But we will do something about it, and I'll show you what we are doing. Then on the right-hand side is also another manuscript. This is by an English Assyrian dictionary. This was written by actually Louis Koda, or he goes by that. Exactly, Louis Koda. It has some interesting story. I was actually reading an introduction to another book that this author wrote. He passed away. He's not alive anymore. He mentioned that he has a copy. He did actually his dictionary. He completed it. Toma Odu, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's nearly, I think, 1,000 pages. He basically reversed it from Assyrian to English Assyrian. But I tried to get it, but I couldn't. I found out that he died, and I think his house burned down. I said, and some people said we tried to get some of his writings, we couldn't, so we lost it. Luckily, good news is, I was given actually a talk somewhere else, and someone told me, George Kiraz, thanks George. He said, I have a copy of that. And in fact, the author said he got visited in the 80s by some young kid in the 80s, and he has a copy. But anyway, the good news is, George told me he has it, and again, I thank him. He actually gave me a copy of this. It's 1,300 pages of unpublished manuscript. And these are some other examples. This is from the Hill Museum and Manuscript Library. It's a wonderful work. Anyway, I want to go into details. And the other one is not very clear, but actually it's a history by, let's see, Morhaj Isaac. This is actually, it's a manuscript that's in a Presbyterian church collection, and it's kind of actually nice because it has almost I estimated how many words it has. It has 276,000, like more than 250,000 words in it. So how do we bring all this to the forefront? How do we work with these type of materials? And I just gave you examples. And I'm pretty sure we have like hundreds of these that are all lost all over the place. And we can use, in this slide, it shows you the type of technologies that we can use to work with this type of material. One of them is basically what we call OCR and HDR. OCR, everyone is familiar probably with it, optical character recognition. The other one is HDR, means handwritten text recognition. These are technologies. OCR is probably old technology. HDR is a little bit more recent in the last few years. Basically, it allows you to look at a manuscript and read it. Read it means it can transcribe it as if someone typed it for you. So you don't have to type it. And so, and these are the other things that we can do. And we can also have printed material that we can scan. If it's already scanned, digitized, we can actually read it and so on. Again, why is this important? Because it will help us to collect large body of text, and this text we can use it for many actually. There's so many uses for it, and you can spend actually years and years. Not only me, I mean, other people can spend years, working on this. And we also can. The reason why it's important to collect this type of material because it allows you to see the language evolution over time. You will not be able to see it if you don't have a good enough large text. For example, I don't know if anyone is familiar with when you do a Google search. Google has a feature, you haven't seen it, but Google actually, because it has so much material, let's say in English or French or any other language, it can actually give you a trace of a word and how it was used over time. So it will tell you, for example, in the 19th century it was used this many times, or it will tell you what's the earliest date that they think they found that this word is used. So that's why in a lot of these dictionaries online, let's say for example, well-established languages like English, French, German, and others, a lot of times you will see, especially English because it's documented, they'll tell you actually the genealogy of a word. So when it was first used and so on. And the only way you can know that, no one knows really, no one can claim that I was the first who used it, unless he coined the word. That person, he or she coined that word. And but other than that, they can only estimate that because it appeared in this document that was dated from this time period, they'll know that most likely it was that was the time that it was used. And also over time, you see that evolution of a word. Maybe a lot of these words in, for example, 19th century is used, meaning change over time, so it's not the same meaning. I'll actually show you some of these examples what kind of technology that we use to in fact, let me just do it now. Here's an example of a software that this is a handwritten text, a manuscript. At the bottom is actually, let me just do right to left. At the bottom is actually, the computer read the first every line. And this is image. This one is an image. See, this is an image. But as you can see, it's highlighted blue, that means it's that line. So the computer can read it can look at the page, not a computer actually, the software I should say, software application. It can look at every page and then it will break down every line, it will then break down every word, then it breaks down every character. And then actually it checks itself whether how good it was when it read this material. So this is just an example. It doesn't do 100% perfection, but it's good enough that it will leave maybe 3% error. That means in every 100 characters, maybe 3 characters was missed. But nonetheless, the way to do that actually, there's some work behind this. We have to train the computer how to read, and then once it reads it, and then we can give it pages that it has not seen before, then it will transcribe them. So this is one technology that we have been using. Let me continue. Let's see. We talked about this. There's another example actually, and these tools, there's several tools. One of the tools that I have been using is called Google Lens. Let's see. Oops, that's not what I want. Google Lens allows you to and everyone has it anyway. So you have it, you probably don't know it exists. But it allows you actually to take a picture and it will transcribe it. Although it doesn't support, Google doesn't officially support Assyrian, but nonetheless it does okay job. So you don't have to have an advanced technology or a specialized software to use this technology. It will actually do it. But Google actually, Assyrian language is on in their list of things, the next 100 languages, or 1,000 languages, actually, 1,000 languages. Google has done 100 languages so far, but Assyrian that we speak, everyone speaks, most of us speak it, is on their list of, on their list of things to do. I want to go through this. Why is this important? Here's an example of a manuscript. It's not very clear, but this manuscript is in a dialect of Alkosh. A computer, once you give it we can train it to distinguish between different dialects. So it will know this is Alkosh dialect or non-Alkosh or Urmi dialect. Here's an example where we use this the use of this. Here's a dictionary. This is a dictionary compiler that we can use this text, and then once you can import it into this program, and then you'll ask the computer to break down every word. And then you can actually add, and then you can visit everything, and then you can actually enter into the computer automatically. So the computer knows every single word, and the words that you entered already, it knows. Things that you have not entered, it will flag it. So that's another use of it. Another example I can show you is that the uses of is this what we call. A computer can actually distinguish between different languages. So this is an example of a page from Odisho Macro, but it's this one. But as you can see, a computer can actually go through every line, every word, and it will be able to recognize that this is Assyrian, and this is English, this is Arabic. And not only that, it tells you exactly where the location, where it starts or where it ends. So again, this is because of this technology that we have now. This is better. I can show you an example of search engine that that we have developed. We call it. So if I type a word, for example, men. So all the text that we have, this is like Google basically, that we have captured from all these texts, it will search and it will find it, it will highlight it, it will tell you exactly what book this word came from. So these are the things that we can use one application of and Baduqa means, by the way, Baduqa means like something to search. You send Baduqa to a scout. And exactly, thank you. That's why I call it Baduqa, because it goes and searches for words for you. So it's Baduqat Khabrani, Baduqat Millani. And the dictionary actually is available online. It's a work in progress, and you can actually search for words. For example, Kipa. Let me just change the word. Keyword. And you can search, and it'll show you where it is. It's just available online. And the thing that we're doing with this dictionary, we're also given a definition. And it'll tell you all the related words related to words. So these are the things that we are trying to do with the dictionary. And it'll also cross-reference other words. And the other thing that we also have is what we call a semantic search. That's my signal. But anyway, if you don't know the word, you will search it by topic, by concept. Well, it says, I want to know all the words related to person. I want to know all the words related to body, and it'll show you that. And not only that, for example, if you have Risha, Paghara, it will tell you like Ena, Pumma, Risha, Aqla, Pagara, whatever, Aqle, they're all connected. So if you know, you don't know the word, but you know it's related to a body, and then you just go to the body, and it will trace for you all these words. And this is all because of this technology. So it's very, very important. I should just flash the last slide. Ba'ut الدين من نوع الموديلة is really it's a work of ultimately we want to create something like ChatGPT, if you're familiar with it. I showed you how to search by word, but then in the future we're anticipating that you'll ask questions and it'll give you answers, just like ChatGPT in Assyrian, and it can happen, and we're working on it. So that's coming, not tomorrow, but in the intermediate future. And that's really it. I don't want to. Makaru makhmeri qalokhan is an Akkadian word to means irrigate water. So lishana diyan ila makhshitla. So you have to kind of مسمت باله اللي مشتيت لمية أبيرز. So that's why I call this Makaru project. And these I don't have to go through that. And that's it really. The call to action, I think this is the call to action, yeah. We need to share knowledge, we need to we need to fund these projects, we need to collaborate, and we need to communicate, and we need to educate. So if you have content that you think that we don't have about Assyrian, contact me, and I'll be happy to show you how to get it from you, whether it's a manuscript that you think is important, or you have a box that has some treasures, and so on. I'll turn this in now.
وصلنا مكان سلمون مملة ديوخ بخشان لتلان هدية بتعزخ أو ترجمة أوكي so هدية بتعزخ برا مش مديان program ديان وبيونق مودعانا ملبانا أفرم so وترجمة حاروي إديو مقدوة تحته دو وريشود ملفونو جبريل أوسي so this is a memlo for the day, and we will move on, and Mefona will tell you about that.
كلمة مصرية عربية سوداء يعني مبيونة شكلها كيف نحن شكلها
كان صار can you give him a hand?
كيف المنظر كده هو فين مادة الفلح
فالآن لا.
من كده لازم نوصلنا هيدا Internet çıkıyor. Ben buraya bırakayım zaten millet arıyoruz durmuyor. ميدانك يعني دخل ميدانك مقمه نينوي انا طوني
إيبخ أمي قراتوني تيك برانت شو تفوتت باريس أبيتون بسي متارانو خون كيختون با أوديو ويلان أموخون و هنيمون رخشو خون بس ده حجمتا تخمنياتو خون
كان كل من دي شالو تي بسيخو بسيتو خون أخجو فرنسا شو تبوتو تطوري كالدات فرنسا خلما و اديو تفقوا وقدا ناشدين اتي من تريس أربع دولات الدنيا من نوفل زيلاند أستراليا أمريكا أوروبا أطرا دبسي خطرابتا لا بالخونديو بيودا اديو لانجو مجلس سيناتو تلانخا دايم كان رابطة دولة فرنسا ولتا لا لان أخاو دودا خلو مادا جو سيناتو فرنسا دا خبل خونا رابرا باري اديو تفقلان ملبان دين رابي خمكي ديواش ملبان تكنولوجي خمكي ديوا ملبان انفورماتيك وخمكي ديلا ملبان ليشانا ولو ما دان ديليش تلاطا يوماني يوم قامايا لي قدمت ارخنتي لي شو تبوتن تفقلان بياي مديالان الدغدادي باربلكو مثلا اديو السيناتو صبرا اتلان لو مادا يوم كومبلي جو داو تلديو سيدا بالخنا باوش لشنا ديا ودارتيو مقدمتا بزن باتلوخ تفقخ موزي دو لوفر موزي دو لوفر اتلانتاما ربي رابا استوار ديان ديلاتاما تشئيتان ديلاتاما بتفقخ ما يدخلي أرخد ديلاتي دنيا خازيلي وبار بالجو مبزني أسامبلي ناسيونال ديلا مجلس فرنسا باتاما دولة فرنسا قلت لها إن كان لالا زنيجو مجلس أسامبلي ناسيونال ما يدخل جانا الأسامبلي وباردا جابزني خاوانا ديان شو تابوتا مرياستا لخا كونسير جروبة كنارة اتيلا من بغداد من العراق البيو 3 جاناتا اتلان خاقاشا سيريان كاثوليك دي لي مايسترو دو جروب البي جاناتا بودي موزيك وما سيتو خلاي بس ما جانا كنت تاخذنا الفرنسا بسيخوبيا
بسیم را با اختخون عویتون بسیم کریایید مدیال کل ان برنامه ین خورزه ین پروگرامینگ قد بت عوی گدنت لایو منه هدی بایان دوقن ملپنه من مور شبار و وقت دوقخل لخرابی لشرشیتون لشرشیتون ایل شوهارا قطن قطویلن اما خون خگر خیته
شو حارة إلى قبل طيبوت الدين جاخت العصير تي في جاخت بتايم شوتوب منن أغدي خازودنا خيو سنة فرنسا ديو خيو متشعيتانا طبعا خلو مدى الدين تخبايش قبيلة ومبشقة بددك تدي خديلانيتا وبريشوتا أغدي خازوتن ديو قبل طيبوت أخيت شوتا بوت العصير كلدايت فرنسا دي إنم ديان بريني نيخاني تربية بيتا بتيا وبورا لبس جو موخا الهم جو لبا كلخا برون عشر من هذه سبب رابا بصيخيون النم ديان دي مبرايا واتلنا اخذي خازوتن اعطوراي دين فرنسا جبارين وهذا خمدي اتخا يقور ومثيلة بالسينات ويوم أخينا باقي بأخيتا بناشونال أسمبلي وخمدي رابا جبار الطالب قوبل طيبوتا دين طالين كرسيدنين وبلخا من كوليهن هذه لو أخذ بالخونة رابا وجورا ومن ديانا أو تنرابا بسين
رابي دخ متخر أب أنا بيان سادوت هيا وانا البيتت متفين بيت الشتابوتت أطراي جوم ديتت باريس اتمجد خا رابا خيرا بيت الشتابوت اتفعلون و شلانه رابا جوره و رابا شبيرنا جشوخن مدرقة ماي ماسخ مجخخن قد همزمخ منك خسام جورا بليتنا و لنا لخا إنا بتهاوخ مدر أماخن به خورزه خای قد سرگون این ماسخ دوقخله رابی سرگون اخم بت ازخ کل اودیو بایخ دوقخ همزمخ من رابی سرگون شلام علوخون لشرشیتون رابا ملپنت و رابا لکر دیاخون بیان یادان مودی ایلا تخمنتاخون و مودی اینا رخشاخون من ده حقت عدیه ایلا شیتت لاید یوبال ده شولا بریخا و خی
هاو خدكتة بوش لا بس دكتور بس أمرخ خشوتا بوثة دي لبوش مخيثة قد كل خلق الدوام من دي مخذ هذا الناشطين لا بس كولاية وملحانة كل مخذ هذا هاوي ماسي أتوي وهاوي لي شوبا دي لخيرة دي لخدكتة أمرخ خدكتة الليتا قدنا بتصوبة قد هم زمخ ودرشخ بتهرج عاشوراي وهذه خزايا لبس وبتصوبة وادخلنا من ديانة أبجو برلمان فرنساية ودكان خيمة سو جربك كل شيء تا شغل بخل وذخ خدوك تخيته وأخني هيرخ أخني بأسرين صاري سوسين هيرخ لكثير chair Nineveh chair وفايس فيرسا هم أوباني هايريلا الخف مقداره
بسیم رابه هویتون امان الاسریا تیوی قخورز خای خینه
لينوس
قامت وخرايا زون اخذت تريوس رابا زونا اخذت من وين خمسة سبب كده صعب خمس الشعر بطمح من هذا السبب اخلت شبقونه لها من رابا زونا اديو اخذت اسيا ديان جابريل نوشي خا ليل بس اسيا خود اخذ يدوتن اسيا بزونا قمايا ليه وبس اسيا هم حكيمه مارد للشان ايوه وش اخيتا الدكتور اوسي وش اريا بين العادات ادي مخزي وملبي بتخياني من هذا سبب اديو مبهنا بخا دومارة دي القرية دوراشة مكتب زونا مبطل مسفحلانوتا ليكنانوتا يومانا ورشمة الأور حديدا الدعتين خبر طالق بشين وإسلامها وطرابة رابا بالسين
بس ما رابا بروفيسور أبرام فرصت انه مش غلنا بو ولا جماعة الرؤية وبطورة وبصورة يتمنتكم عيتوا مرة لي تودي غلبة تودي ساقي لفرصاتين ووقت ديذا هاوي عيقو غلبة موقع فياتنا تشيكي بسرعة على مسائلاني يحير تيضا المطعرين على الأخذ لجن مدينة درسات هرقي تكتني قوصوية لجنة ودعتي جديدا. إنا قد مفتكرنا بلو موذان وبفل حانتكوي بوري في يعدو عبد المسيح بربرام مستعمي ولو خبرانو ديجاوو إنا قد قرينو أكثو يوثو دا كوثو بعتيقي خدناعون فايك وحورو ميذي تقعدو بدلك كمفقنا لي حولو خد هنا با حرفات حاثة أو بليشونة حاثة ما حسنوا إنه مقا يسكيتو شبه أو دك مطابق حذوذي بين لفل حوندين قايو ودودو موخا إنه كيتو غلبة سنيقوثو ربطو دذعينا هنا قايو من هاوي لجن أديوما دلنفلينا بفودي تهاون بوز ابناو هركي هاويلي فرصة صيامنا تشيكي مديتاسيون عم قلقامش بسيدني لأنه ينقد مشغلين على تاريخ بدينا مزرنا دعبار غلبة دورينا القلقامش دورينا أصول بنيبال دورينا الحمورابي قلقامش دقاتيل عملنا له هاي لجن إيمان كوثة دالين إلو مو يثوثة كمين على يعني قادر على موتو حمورابي تسمى قانوني لجنسوي ملكوثو تكتيو فرديسو دعذين تكيت بوكثو بس بيبري ثاثي واشور بانيبال محويلي اما سايلاني تهاون كل عم حدوذي او بدينا مو تاريخ ديذا بشر بدقة دي شيء خد كمينة قصة دقة دي شيء خدك حزيتو مور يحقوب وقوريذي انا بهنو بنصيون نينوس مافيته وهذه هنا يونيفرسيتي اعتقدوا دبريثو مالفونا افريم مرلي على سلامانكا يونيفرسيتي اعتقدوا اوروبا بس هركك زينا يونيفرسيتي اعتقدوا دبريثو بس اما سايلاني فايتي له تاريخ هاون هنا يرثونو او ميراث قد كمينا لبريثو كولا كبع قلقامش كبع مورا فريم بيهنو بيمشي حويثو قلقامش لجن تاريخ دبريثو أني سنة كلك مستعملين بس احنا كلازم مضعرينا يحير تيضا ايش مولو تاريخ ديدا احنا ميقم موشني من هاوي ميقم موشني مو حمشيشني بديلي حركة بينو عاميدا هاثي من منطقة حيرينا تشيكي لي حركاتي كان بوهنو بشوع موشني حروياني احنا عايشين تحت حكم دعوة مالية مو يومو فاتح دم سكل اسطنبول بنا 1453 ما حتى قانونه بيبريث دعوة مانو ينقايد كتنا احنا تحت حكم ديذا كيتو تريش كلات دعامة تحت حكم ديدة وعامد كتيو حاكم وعامد كتلي شلطونوثو هاني قطايني عامي تكتني تحت شعبوذو يعني تكتني تحتي شلطونوثو ثلاثة هن شلطونوثو وهاني السنة أمشي حيوي لأنه ومفهوم دملي بوقت ضع عثمانية زتر ميدي إشارة لدينوي لتوي أمثو بميدي تفهمين هودو اتنيك أمثو يعني عادات وليشونة وخمسايا إلو زتر ميدي ودينوي حاكم وتحت حكم ضع عثمانية كتو ثلاث ملل كتو تحت الشعبوذو كتو أروم كتو النرمنوية وكتو أهدوي احنا مصري وين بينا عملنا المنوية كمي مثلينا وشمالكو دواسكو دلنا المنوية الروم كمثليو احنا الارثوذكس دو بلقان كله تقريبا واهدوي ذاتنا الروحية بوهنا بوكسو سيوان نشانيان كوثو على إدارة أو فالجد إدارة باهنا بطورنا تقاري وبقري أوثو دمادن حو لو كذا عنو يعني سيوان نشانيان من قوصد بوهنا فالجد إدارة أو فالجد مستقيل بس إنه فهمنا مميدانود إنه فعاميدا سيام وروحي إدارة لول بس كل مادة مصروي بشلطانو ثو إنك لزمو احنا كمي مثلينا ومفاطر يقو سو شلطانو هذا يسوط أشور يوسف مثل هاوي وهنو هاوي من كميلة مشروطية دترتي بحكم دا عثمانية مثل مي مشروطيات هاوي حيروثوش ملعامة بدلك كثوي ومهيمني انه دقدوي حيروثو وأحوثو وشويوثو بدولة دا عثمانية رغم انه دميقم كموشني بنا 1800 وشاو حمشي وشقونو 1800 وحمشوا تشعي وشيثوا تشعي هاوي قتل عامو هاوي مشاكل غلبة بس عماثي كولا بتر 1800 إنقت هاوي مشروطيات دترتب تركيا هيمني انه قدوي ميدي كايسو اشور يوسف ديلي بينقل ثيذ خرقوط نعم فايق موفقلي مقصد كوكب مدنحو وغلب بتركيا وهاوي شبه حيروثو إلو هاثي المدوم لا بصر من اللوب غلبة أثن اتحاد ترقي أثي لوريشو وطاور الجابو من دمينا عنصري جابو تكتيو ثنايا غلبة وبديلة موبيلة وعام مستفاد لمحرق قموية دبريثو وسملي أقتل عامد هاي بتركيا على الروم على سوريا أشور يوسف بيشات دنا في وشعمو هم شخصا كتير وكتلي كيت هالكي ترتسو روثو دتريع ليمنا هيري معاميدا دقعوديو بيهنو بيشوتو فوثت عيروثو تكميلا وانتباه أتريع ليماني حزيل يوتاريخ دمو وتثي ألف وشعمو وشتحصر تريع ليمنا يعني لاوي ولا قيمة يثي بلنا الف وشعمو وشتحصر لحزي ليش بكثر ثق لازم حزين على بس متيقنوا انه هاني استنقتيلي بوسيفو دي مسألة تقتيل أشور يوسف كيد غلبة دقتيلي نقايا دايشير وغير مكة ثمنا هيري لأنه بدل أول قامة تبقى ودنا هيري وبثر يدي بدل قتلي وعامو حرينه هالكي كتلا شخص دك مشتعالة دوره رابو بمثطورون وثاثي هو نعم فايقيو وتريلي تأثير على في الحنون ثنايو بكل دكثو وبواسطة شوتفوثة إيروثا هو تكتوي حامام شتسوني وهو تكتوي سكرتير قامويو بهنو بديار بكر ومطاوم من شغلة شوتفوثة إيروثا لبريثو كولا رمح القمشغل حبرو عبود زيتون أعلو شو لأنه لكو برنوالا بقوة هكيك حزينا نعم فايق نعم فايق مولد بديار بكر بشهر 1888 ودرش لي بمدرسته تكتيو بيتو ديار بكر ما فيتها هانو بيتو نعم فايق بديار بكر هيش تفويش يعني اسيوان تفايش مو بيتو يو هكي قوم مع مرة سيو بحرينو هانو هم الفونو نعم فايت حنا سر شقي نقد سمي مدرسته بديار بكر منطقة ولا هانو خد مدير والفونو أعلن عن فايت قبيلة جابي وبيتو ديوضا صالو ديار بكر وهي مدرسته له دك فيشو دك دي مدرستايو نعم فايت خارج مو في الحنيدة وحينو خد قليونورو يذيعوا غلبة بينو عميدا هو موفق لي أول قامته إيش بديار بكر موفق لي كوكب مدنحو ترتيشني مش هتقدر ترلفو حصار لا ترح حصار بطرح حصار من هجر لأمريكا موفق لي إمجدثو بيت نهرين بأمريكا هو اليوم مدمايز بس ما شاتو فلقي قطعوا من قلثو بيت نهرين هنا قد سموا للمشتيلونو علم قلثو دي شوتو فوزوت أوثر وكالدو قلثو تحويوذا بتمحو كيس مكة وكيما فيتي نعم فايق مرلي كثوه على كل مدى كويو أكتوال يوماو بس أموره والسنغال برابو مشبه احنا عمي مريدة مترجم لت عمر خيام التيوفيلوس مترجمه لإليادا هنا هيرودوت ومشبه أمي مريدة وكتلة ممرة غالبة حرين العام فايق بس وش مت نعم فايق سليك تركيا بثلمت أثيو جمهورية تركيا أثيو أتاتورك على أساس إنه بدو يحيلوث الرجل جمهورية بس أتاتورك سخر لي أما درشة كتولا نستنى وما تدفعيش وقتولا مردي مدرسة حاريتو 1928 سخرولي أتاتورك مقلب لي أحرفات استنى مو عربو يلوهنو لولاتيني وبشكلانو إنه هو فايش هابيلي إمكان تقولي أم قال يوثو نعم فايق أم قال يوثو نعم فايق كرفتو بحرف سوريا سووا تركي بحرف سوريا وعربي بحرف سوريا وسوريا أساسا بحرف سوريا بس هاني دك نفقي ما أدري شو ذا قارنا فايشو لاتيني واللي فايش إمكان تقارن نحن أم قال يوثو حقيقي هذه السنة مش تعال الدور الرابع لجان مطعن عام فايق وبتركيا كتو ضغط غلبة إنه ميكاسة وش مدنا عم فايق مثل ميحوله يعني لو بس وش مدنا عم فايق كل في الحانة كتلة علاقة بأمثل ويوثو لازم مثلي موقع إنه هذه قراب ورابو سوريا كم دومي ويجبن ما أدري شو ده سوريا يك مش غليوا عن عم فايق كم بيقولوا هذا كرينان أو نستان كمل فيه بهنا بسوريا بس بتركيا سليبوا نشمل بحذنا قا مساحة مطلب إيه هاني يشوف أنا دهنود ديال بكرني أنا إن قد قليل لي سا 1924 1927 بزاب قناني مهلق لي غلب يزاب قناني مهلقني نعم فايق بني كثوه بني زيني ما برشته بني وليش معنا تو خبره عن نعم فايق ديال بكر رغم إنه أدير بكر كتوه يتامو كله كذعي وكله ما طلع أم قال يوثيذي بس كسيوي يعني كلازم سكتي المشغول يعني ميدان نش المجري مشغل وميدانه قلت أزيل اسطنبول ما في كلام أزينو الاسطنبول لاقينو ديرويو صاميل بناسي بلكي نش منيكم كذي لكن بلشي قايو هذا إن قايو قاشو دي تدسرين كاتوليك في اسطنبول فلحلا بهنوب مد كتير نتكمينا لا وحضروا مردوثونو يدمت في اسطنبول وهاويلان إسوري أعمى إيتو ظهرين السنين بينو في إيتو دسريان كاتوليك كتو هانو ديرويو بي تايرو صاليو وبينو في بول قاشا بول هالبول هاويلان إسوري غلب أعمى إيتو كل قدرين سيمينا حيوذو يعني بين عليهم سيمينا في الحانو ما تيوكسوان اللي ذي نعم فايق مو دايرويو أبعد أبعد كوي كل اللي يونيفرسيتا عزينا من الكلوزم حزيني مكتبي ضم يحمل دبت اللي يونيفرسيتا مثل يوكسوان من غير كوستين وكسوان طبعا كوبي يضحكوا ربطوا عن نعم فايق بس يضحكوا فيشو علمه تسمل نعم فايق لتلن يذحف على يتنافق بمجل يوثو هذه ما أمدت كوي بثر مو هنا مو بروجكت دمارت هاوي بوحو يدو بيوصل بوحو يدو دسويت توماس عبد الله دعود لي غلبي وشو ولانو وعلي ما ياخذوه عبد المسيح ابراهام وحلين دك عودي ببروجكتات مفتي اكثر واني حزينه انه من كثير وبمقل يوثاني حزينه طامو احا يدعى مزته بس بكثر وقت محويلي من يقني سلطيبه كيد غلبي يضحثوا اعلف القناه أكثوانو ميقم مدنوفق إنه بيشا تدلنا الفوشعمو ثلاث شوعي معلومات من مكتوبة وابن دبينو قد شكل كونفرانس بحضرة مرلي مات كتير لنيت كتير اسطنبول يعقوب طاحنجيو وغلو ينقايو مشكلة إنه دو حضروي طلب له تكست ولي نيو تكست تقدر تدرس بو مجلس من اللي ديعي توستني رفض له هنا رفض له طلب وبثر له راحوقه نافقو ثوان سرياني لدى اجتماعي وسياسي تاريخي وبثر ماني يعقوب طحنجو الموفق له ثوان وسرياني لدى زيلي ماكم كموش ندزينه والاسطنبول زيلي بمكتبه بوك ثوانو ما حتلي حمشو سطرات على نعم فايق كوثو دياكون نعم فايق حمشو سطرات وبس تقرأوا بس اوتكس دولي لمادح صار صحيفات على نعم فايق تبعنا ودبينا كونفرنس بنقص بحث صحيفة أعلى بس أمدت هو اللي إذن لا وهو قوي حتى بكثوان محويل هذا إيشو طيبة ما قمت بكوثو إنه إحنا تركنا ولتلن هنا غير أمثنا يوثو وفرق كيد بين لحنا ولاد ترك ودينويو وإذا كبعيتكم غايبين هاوس عين اللودر مانو بكوثو بكثوان محويلي إيشو طيبة بس أشرورو لكمتلي أشرورو دابيعو تركيا تليولي كنف قاعد اللي حولك كنفقي أهنا أكثر واني دبو وقتاو نعم فايق وشو تفوثت إيروثو وأشو تفيو ثحرين تسيمي بأمريكا بدياسبورا عيني قديما سيدو في الحانة دعدو دك سيمين علي إنا قايد وفي الحانة مشوشت بدياسبورا ديلي كنفق اللي حوله واحنا كلازم مدينة هرجي ممدة تسمي هاني دميق منينا خديشة وتوفوثو دم أساسي تهويو بثر سبب لجان حيوذو بينو عام وقدير مفقي بواسطة دوهنو دو في الحنانو سيعتو دزا لو كونفرانس باري سركت كتنا بوي ومثلي وعاميدا كولي نقد قدير سيمي هنو سيعتو محايدتو وفي الحنان دعدة كويس سنة بالدياسبورا بموبيلا الدربو أنه تقدرينا حيدينا وفي الحنان كولي لجن يحكي ذي دعاء ميدا هيش كيت بهرو دعاء ميدا موخة ما حتلي سلطات لجن زيتو بهرو هذه بسرعة غربت
رابع مصيت أخرى بس فرنساي إتلي دانا كبر قتل الطرح من هاي السبب أو ترابرا بسي من لم ديان مبهير يعني وباقي بهاول دانا بخيطة برمشة ما منه دانا خشو آلة خبو بارا إيبي شاقل دانا وهمزم ومحكي من
شينا من باي باقر أبن بلا زمان فاير
بس ثانية برايا وبقول كلهم خيطة ما هذا بقاش بدور خشكله أخا كولن you all you have to come here and we will take a picture for ما من مشكل ما ياخذ ان كوسي خلينا تطلبوا منه بدنا ناخذ له كوش ناخذ كوش ناخذ قليل ها
S'il vous plaît, essayez d'être un peu plus agile parce que nous devons quitter la salle. Allez-y, please. Sarah, Daoud.
Apa c'est bon?
بوسود لو لاوي نود ملوش لو كيف ناكل مجنون
زوق سرقان زوق
لا قرشن شكلها دي شمشة من قالة ها
Moi je vais faire qu'avec toi maman.
وين صار ودي ما يمر
قدموا حبيبه
شينو تولي
بكيت الدكتور لحظة في
فينا طوى بس يكون موري ثاني بين يوم وحزين إذن ما جابور عندنا خير الله
إذن بس ما له حقوق دي خلي خمسة لا من باقي طالنا ما لا خد أو ترى بالسين
بكي أفرم هم عاوزة ليلة بكي دوم الفقد لليوم
Görüş.